I honestly do not know how I feel about Escape from Tomorrow. I mean, in one sense, I do. I know that I don't like it. I don't like the fact that they filmed it illegally. I find that the narrative is very creepy. But at the same time, I really love Disney World and Disneyland. So if there's any film that's going to feature aspects of those parks, I'm going to be intrigued. This is the 2013 film written and directed by Randy Moore. And I hardly know which part to tackle first. Let's tackle the questionable narrative first. And then we'll look at the illegal filming aspect. So, the description from IMDb is as follows. In this black comedy, Jim is an unsatisfied middle-aged man on vacation with his family at Disney World. While his family frolics through the park and is enthralled with the sights and sounds of Disney, Jim finds himself inexplicably obsessed with two French teenage girls. The park environment soon turns to something more sinister as Jim uncovers its secrets. It's creepy. There's a fully grown man following around these two teenage girls. I mean, I find that really sinister. And it does have an eerie tone. It is described as a black comedy. I don't think there's any comedic element to it whatsoever. But I guess you could say the narrative is thought-provoking. Could make you think that even at Disney there are going to be very bad people who are doing very bad things. Jim is not actually portrayed, in my opinion, as a bad person. He's definitely portrayed more as just, a father who is bored. And yeah, I get that. You see a lot of parents at theme parks and things. And yeah, they're going to get fed up of, carrying coats and bags, and they're going to maybe wander around a bit. But basically, stalking two teenage girls is a bit twisted in every sense, really. In terms of how dark it gets, it does. I think the tone it's trying to convey is, I think, what they delivered. I feel like they managed to successfully portray the tone that I feel like they're trying to deliver. So credit where credit is due. It had a mission and it succeeded. Unfortunately, it did not succeed in any other proper meaningful way, since this was filmed illegally. They filmed it, of course, inside the Disney parks. And while you're allowed to film in the Disney parks, by which I mean you can get your camera phone out and film your children, I have to say at the same time, it doesn't really say anything about Disney itself. Yes, there are Disney characters there who are not necessarily perfect, and the setting is a Disney park, but in reality, this could be set anywhere. It's just trying to say that there is evil and darkness in even what is supposed to be the happiest place on earth. And I completely support that theory. I love that as an actual film trope. And I'm a big fan of things where there is horror in the innocent. I love horror films set in theme parks. Unfortunately, because this is filmed on the sly and, illegally, we don't really get to see that many beautiful shots of the theme park. We don't get to see, these gorgeous rides and having really well shot scenes or anything. It is all very sneaky. And I'll be honest, in a way, that sneakiness adds to the fact that it's showing the darkness in this happy place, because it's sly and secretive and illegal and naughty. And in a way, that's very clever, because the mood they're trying to give off is actually the film itself, because the film is that bad thing in that happy place because they're breaking the law. Nevertheless, it's interesting enough to analyse. In fact, I'm quite fond of it from an analytical perspective, looking at this darkness in the happiest place on earth. Big Disney park fan. And Jim as a character is very peculiar. I feel like the park is a character in its own right, rather than any of the actual characters. I don't care about any of the actual characters, but I do care about the setting. And I feel like it's actually a really interesting one to analyse and study. But unfortunately, because of the way it's filmed, even though that has a benefit, visually it's not very good. It's not very good at all. Obviously, lack of dialogue plays a part. I just can't really find it within me to recommend this for an enjoyable watch. But at the same time, as much as I don't want to recommend a film that has been illegally filmed in one of the happiest places on earth, I think if you're a Disney fan, you need to watch it just to to see what it's like, to kind of get a flavour of what it's trying to do. It is actually quite compelling in that respect. But I think if you're not a Disney fan, then it's not going to be even remotely interesting, because what narrative could be there to analyse is just not very well shot for very obvious reasons. So, I don't know. It depends on where you sit with this one. It had potential. If it had been filmed legally, goodness knows how much that would have cost. According to Wikipedia, it had a budget of about $500,000. But if it had been filmed legally and they got some decent shots and the editing was better, and they were allowed to give it a much more intricate narrative, it actually could have been really great. It could have been really entertaining. So, we'll see. I don't know what we'll see. I'd like somebody else to have a go at this and film it in another theme park with permission, or even permission from Disney. It would be so good. I mean, no offence to the film crew, and certainly to the people who'd filmed legally, but it would be so good if a big budget production company basically filmed something very similar, different enough to not breach copyright. Although, can you breach copyright on something that was filmed illegally? I'm not entirely sure. But if they kind of did something kind of similar, if Disney did something kind of similar, and it went really successful, I don't know. It's just the kind of mad thing I can see happening. Honestly, Escape from Tomorrow is one of the most thought-provoking things I've ever seen. Check it out if you're curious. You may or may not be disappointed depending on what you want from it.